shout out to Breakfast because it's the #1 inspiration for a lot of great things that happen in this world. People find their purpose through heartbreak, so embrace it. My name is Mautin, Tairu. I'm film and media executive, talent manager, brand strategist, and overall what's up guy. Well, would I say, when did I start making film? I mean, I really don't like to categorize myself as a filmmaker. But then again, my involvement in film started about 9 years ago. Yeah, basically 2015. But I believe that to be involved in the process of the filmmaking is to contribute greatly towards the outcome of the film. So it was just me exploring other creative ventures that I could possibly get myself into, because I know that I find my purpose doing more of creative works than every other thing that has to do with science. Because, funny story, back in secondary school I was a science student. But as much as I was a science student, you find me most of the time in arts class, either singing or getting involved in one thing or the other that is related to arts. It happened that I have a friend who happens to be my partner now in Salvador, who had just graduated from a film school. We put funds together to try out something. However, prior to that, it was a culture for my family during Ilea. When all of us gathered together at my dad's place, we would watch movies and whatnot. And my dad used to have different kind of movies, from Indian to Yoruba movies, from Gazab to Najina, Shole. Also, all these Yoruba movies like Ajeni Yami. As a matter of fact, Ajeni Yami stays with me because of the name. And I remember at the time that whenever we are talking about Ajeni Yami, we will not be playing Yami Okinshajo, like my mom is not a witch and stuff like that. So the fact that something like that could stay with me over time, it was something that I find to be fascinating as a kid. So I had always wanted to be involved in the process. I just did not really know how. So I got my first camera. We would shoot all these skits and whatnot at the time. During that time, we were just having fun. But I realized that as much as we were having fun, I found purpose in doing those little things that had to do with the creative side of me. And it kind of like built my interest in wanting to explore more. So when the opportunity came for us to do film, and I had the fund that I could put down, and he could put out some funds as well too, we just went straight into it. And it's been a journey right from there. And then I started to acquire more knowledge in terms of the entire process of filmmaking, because really I like to be at the back. I'm more of the behind the scene guy. I don't think I really want to explore that side of me that has to do with being in front of the camera. At the core of me wanting to direct now, even though I know it's not going to happen anytime soon, is me seeing a couple of films and I'm wondering how the hell did they think of doing that? Like, who be this guy? I will talk about I Am Not a Witch. Then there is The Meeting, directed by Major Edoko. I remember watching that on the CD, right? Well, for the third one, I mean, this might sound biased because I am involved in the process of making it, which is Mami Water.
Makinde, don't come back here without the signed authorization.
The Meeting. I remember seeing The Meeting and I totally enjoyed it. I had watched that on VCD and I remember really, really enjoying it. Majorly for the fact that it was a film that was focused on showing the lack of structure in our government parastatals, and at the same time, it was still telling it in a way that it's so enjoyable that you forget that you're watching a movie. And that to me was an art, because you capture my attention in a way that I forget that I'm watching a movie and I'm enjoying it. And most importantly, the performances were as natural as it can be. So The Meeting was very powerful in terms of telling the story of the lack of structure in our government parastatals and how that lack of structure almost ruined one man's life, which is funny how in the movie they call him Mr. M, which is the same thing that I'm called as well to Mr. Makinde.
Hey, mind your language! Mind your your language with me. I'm a married woman, my friend. Excuse me, oh. The minister has closed for the day, so go back home and come back tomorrow.
For I Am Not a Witch, I've come to realize that over time I'm always drawn to movies that has child actors, especially when these child actors are being made to grow up fast. In the case of I Am Not a Witch, this is a child that just appears magically from nowhere. We don't really know much of the backstory, but all we can tell is that she appears out of nowhere and somehow she's been accused of witchcraft in a remote village in Zambia. And as a result of being accused of witchcraft, they had to put her in a witch camp where she happens to be the only child. The rest of the people in that witch camp are older women, but you could literally tell from the fact that this child is being made to grow up so fast. How do you even look at a child like this and then say she's a witch? When I was done watching the movie, I had to look up watching different Q&As of the director because I wanted to know what was going on in her head when she decided to make I Am Not a Witch. And I found quite a number of things that she said to be really, really interesting. And for me, that was very, very intentional. And I told myself, I think this is the kind of director I want to be.
Get something where I see for a village. I know see.
Mami Wata is a retelling of our history. Most importantly, it's a way of celebrating the dark bodies and how to position Africans as the gods that they are.
And Mami Wata, they give us food. And they give us everything we need.
I remember before we made Mami Wata, CJ would line everybody up and then get us to watch movies that inspires him. And just to get all of the crew together to understand his vision. And I think that kind of like plays out in the way Mami Wata is being made because it's that kind of story that doesn't really tell you what to do. When films become too preachy, I'd be like, if I want somebody to preach to me, I might as well just go to church or mosque. For me, I feel like films are supposed to be just what they are. Films that you just want to watch and enjoy. And there's a message that has been passed to your subconscious that you don't know about until you're done watching. You'll be like, okay. Everybody understood the assignment in terms of what they were trying to do and what the outcome was supposed to be. And I remember saying that I don't want to see it until we see it at the cinema. And the first time we saw it at the cinema, which was at the premiere at Sundance, and I looked at it and I'm like, oh my God, we really did this? One thing I think the three has in common is social commentary. For the meeting, it was a social commentary on the lack of structure and the lackadaisical attitude of both the workers and people in powers in our government parastatals. It's just something about the way everything is being done haphazardly in Nigeria. Like, you almost would think that for a country that claims to be the giant of Africa, right, we are developed and there is structure, but it will shock you to find out that at the highest form of government, the structure that exists, there is no structure. For I Am Not a Witch, it was majorly the same social commentary about child exploitation, lack of education, and then the founding beliefs of people who have nothing to back up their belief. It was even more shocking when I realized that this is not just a movie, this is a real life scenario that was recreated for the purpose of telling the story. For Mami Wata, it's the same social commentary. Basically, it's how the same people that tells you that they are fighting for you are fighting for themselves first, and when push comes to shove, these same people that will tell you they're fighting for you would even oppress you more. I think there's this saying that goes on in Nigeria, like, sometimes the oppressed are only angry, they are not the one in the position of the oppressor, because when power switches sides, you realize that the oppressed one is even a worse oppressor than the current oppressor that you have in government. Like the popular saying goes, guns don't kill people, people kill people. That is the story of Mami Wata. Well, so to be honest, right, it depends on the period your film is set in, right? But if your film is set in a particular period, I think it's only right for you to reflect the times that the story is dwelling on, right? What my greatest belief as a filmmaker is there's a human side to everybody, and even as villains as well too, even killers, murderers, and everybody, there is a human side to them. And I always love it when films do just that. Besides showing me a killer, show me a human. In Yoruba, they will say, "Nkan to kọwájú sí ẹ, ẹ̀yìn ló kọ sẹ́lòmíì." So the same person that you are seeing as a killer is someone else's lover, father, brother, sister, or whatever it is. And I think that's why, again, another film that I probably would always, in this case, make reference to basically is The Trade. As much as this guy was portrayed as a kidnapper, Blossom's character, you could still see the fact that he had this family that he cherished so much that they were like his, this thing that they call Achilles. Yeah? You could see that this were his weakness. And that to me is what I always like to see in every movie, in every film. Oh yeah, I mean, these are films that kind of like you said, light up my fuse to want to tell that kind. And I found myself to be very more conscious of the kind of stories that I tell. At the foundation of me telling my story is enjoyment, entertainment, really. But you wouldn't find social commentary missing. It might just glaze over it, but you would go back and like, oh wait, something was said there. What was that about? It's now something that I'm very conscious about. Like, as much as films are supposed to just be enjoyable and whatnot, right? You can still be able to do much with it without even trying to do anything at all. It could be in conversations, it could be in anything. All he has to do is, only one person just has to pick that information and then blow it up. See, films are subjective. I always say, like, if you enjoy a film, it's totally fine to enjoy a film, regardless of whether somebody else doesn't enjoy it. It doesn't make you silly. People watch films for different reasons. So just because the majority of the viewers don't enjoy a film shouldn't cancel the feelings that you felt when you watched the movie. It could be an entirely silly film, but if you as a person enjoyed the silliness about the film, bask in it. Love. The film that comes to mind doesn't have love in the title, but I know it's a romance film, and as a result of the film, I have a tattoo from one of the quotes from the film. That's also another powerful thing about filmmaking, right? So I just know it's a love story that did not end well, and I'm a great fan of love stories that don't end well. So it's a movie on Netflix called, I think it's Somebody Great. Yeah, Somebody Great. And one of the quotes that was on it, it's a tattoo that I have here, it's somewhere around here, right? It says, when you let the light in, shattered glass will glitter. And that was a profound quote because it's almost like the same, the meaning is similar to, what's it called? Broken crayons, still colors as well too. So, I mean, for someone that's broken, where they don't have breakfast, you can still do great things with your breakfast. As a matter of fact, I always say it, shout out to breakfast because it's the #1 inspiration for a lot of great things that happen in this world. People find their purpose through heartbreak. So embrace it. And that is the whole essence of this quote. So that's why the movie comes to mind when I see love, because again, it's a love story that did not end well. Old Nollywood. Yeah, man. Old Nollywood. When I think of old Nollywood, there's a movie that comes to mind. Conspiracy. Conspiracy because of Onyeka Onwenu. When I was done watching the movie, and the song stayed with me. You and I will live as one. It was also a movie about social commentary as well, too, because I remember that in that movie, she was a mad woman and they shaved her hair as widow rights or something like that. And that to me it's one of my old Nollywood classic, really. Childhood. Yeah? Childhood. Well, if I think of childhood, it just brings me to another film that has one of the lead actors to be a child, basically, and majorly because I feel like it was being robbed of the innocence of his childhood, and that's Adu. The boy was too young for everything that he went through, and that to me, he was being robbed of his childhood because for your childhood, you're supposed to be making memories and be enjoying life. Why the hell are you being made to go through all of that stress of wanting to cross over from your country into Europe to the point where you are experiencing your sister falling off a plane, and there is this innocence in the way he played the character that in my head I'm like, you know, you were supposed to enjoy the sleep on top chair, wake up on top bed, because your daddy carry you from your chair to your bed when you sleep up. And now the one dealing with your sister falling off aeroplane while you're trying to make a grand entry into Europe. So yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. Those were great singing choices.
Thank you for keeping me up. There is the meeting, and then there is, what's it called? Mami Water. Thank you very much. That was so on point, so timely.